Today on an all-new Dr. Phil has finding his brother's killer.
He is consumed by this to the point that you are on the brink of divorce.
Become an obsession.
I know it's affected my family.
I lost my uncle, but I feel like at the same time I lost you.
Families torn apart by killings.
Since my son's death, I have shut down.
It's time for you to not run from your feelings.
If it was one of your sons, how would you do it?
Two families ripped apart by tragedy today. Both allege police tried to cover up the vicious killings of a loved one. Their stories made headlines on opposite ends of the country. Although they have never met, they have one thing in common. They are determined to prove their family member was in fact killed. Now, my first guest, Rod, says his brother was shot 6 times and left to die in an alley, but yet no charges were filed. Take a look.
Officers were called to this warehouse at around 10:30 Wednesday night after someone reported hearing shots fired. When officers arrived, they found a man shot dead.
It's been 2.5 years since my brother was murdered.
He was brutally shot in an alleyway 6 times. 4 of them were kill shots.
The day I received the phone call from the police telling me my brother was killed was March 10th. He didn't provide me any other details.
It's just one of those things that, never should have happened, but here's people that decided to use firearms, and the end result is one is deceased.
The officer that called me was at my mom's house informing my mother of my brother's death. In the background, I heard my mother screaming and crying. The first thought that went through my head when the officer told me my brother was killed, I thought the police had killed him.
Well, Rod immediately began an investigation of his own.
Right from the beginning, the police's story about what transpired didn't add up. Police were claiming that my brother chased somebody inside the building with a gun, and then a gunfight ensued, and my brother was shot and killed inside the warehouse. The police informed us that they have a videotape of my brother running around and shooting at people. I have requested to see the tape over and over again. The press has requested to see the tape, and we have all been denied. They have never showed anybody the tape. Coroner's report went into detail about the gunshot wounds, but there is nothing on any of these reports about a stun gun. My photos have a clear stun gun burn on him, so I have the most damning evidence against them that I could possibly have. The police claim after my brother was killed, they drug him out the back door and put him in the alley. But when we returned the following morning, I could see that if 2 people were carrying a bloody body that was bleeding profusely through that doorway from inside that building, there would have been some sort of blood somewhere on the door. The blood smear by the back door did not cross the threshold of that door, so there's no evidence that my brother was in that building at that point, and I took photos of that. After I confronted the police with my findings, they changed the story. They said, "You're right, everything happened in the alley." I said, "What do you mean? You told me my brother was inside, and you put it in the press that he was inside the building." It's been 2.5 years since my brother was murdered. I can't stop my investigation because I feel that I have to bring out the truth. I feel that I'm the only person on this earth that can do it. And if I don't do it, it'll never be done.
Well, it has been 2.5 years, and Rod says he spends every waking moment investigating his brother's death. But his wife says his search for justice, at all cost, is just that. It's destroying their marriage and tearing the family apart.
I'm only focused on one thing, and that's finding the truth no matter what. This investigation has totally taken over my life.
My husband thinks about this every waking moment of his life. I feel like I really don't have a husband anymore.
I'm not there for my wife, I'm not there for my kids, I'm not there for my job. I've uncovered a lot of different stuff. The picture on the front here is looking down on his body shop. Here's his body shop right here. And this parking lot over here is where the guys that killed him used to hang out and watch him at night. It's almost like I'm in some sort of a trance. I think about it, I dream about it, I wake up and it's on my mind. I wake up and my teeth are clenched together. I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel revengeful.
This situation has affected us financially.
There is no money for the investigation. I don't have a steady job. My wife works constantly.
The financial burden has fallen completely on me. The house has continued to deteriorate. There's drywall that needs to continue to be hung. We need new doors on pretty much every room in the house. I don't have the ability to send my daughter to college. And I don't even have the ability to pay our bills. I would never tell my husband to stop his fight, but I don't know how much longer I can stand by his side.
Okay, well, I'm sorry for your loss, both of you. So tell me what you think has gone on here.
I think my brother was lured to that location and executed, is what I feel, from seeing the evidence, the body, his body. That's what I come up with through the course of my investigation, is that with what was going on in his life at the time, there's no way he would have went on some sort of a suicide mission at that point. I just feel that there was foul play involved. The two individuals that were involved, we believe they are criminal informants that work for the police department. This gentleman has pulled a gun on my brother and tried to run him over with a truck. No charges for this individual whatsoever. They won't even attempt to investigate any of my brothers.
Wait a minute. You're going all over the place here. You're really into this. You've memorized the autopsy report?
Yes. Yes, I have.
So would you agree that he's obsessive about this?
I think it's more consumed. I think it's consuming him.
I'm not disagreeing. I don't know what happened. I'm just trying to find out what you think happened. And you're kind of talking in circles, which is not, let me tell you, as someone trained in forensic psychology, I can tell you, you don't want to talk in circles. If you have allegations, you need to support them with great specificity here.
My brother was arrested in 2009 at his body shop. He lost his business. He represented himself in court. He won his case. The DA appealed the case. This case was an appeal at the time of his murder. On March 8th, the day before his murder, the arresting officer from that case was harassing him on the street, and I have the tape that he left for his appellate attorney stating so. On the 9th, he was murdered. On the 10th, he was due in court to get his judgment back so he can proceed with a lawsuit against the police department. And I just don't think that that's a coincidence that all these things happened.
Okay, and you've hired 2 private investigators.
Correct.
And you photographed this crime scene. You went to the morgue to take pictures of your brother's body.
Yes, I did.
So you've created a record. You've created perhaps a more comprehensive file than the police.
Correct.
What's your next step?
I've talked to probably 100 attorneys just over the phone. This case is so complex and there's so many twists and turns to it that I can't get the 10-minute conversation I have with attorneys over the phone. There's just so much to it that they refuse to call me back or refuse to let me in to
well,
talk
I can
with
tell
them.
you why, because they're having the experience with you that I'm having, and that is that you won't answer a question. You go all around, and so that makes it seem like you don't have answers, and I think you do.
I know I do.
But
it's
I
just so
think
hard. It's hard to get them out in order, and I need to lay it all out on a table and have a professional look at it and go over it bit by bit.
Well, we reached out to the Santa Maria Police Department, and we invited them to be on the show to have a representative here. They declined. We then asked for a statement. They said it was an ongoing investigation and they would not be commenting at this time. And we also contacted the suspects in question, but they did not respond as of our tape time. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to meet Rod and Lori's children and find out why they fear their father will end up just like their uncle if he continues investigating his death. Is he, in fact, in danger? We'll be right back.
The only thing my dad ever wants to talk about is my uncle. He's very obsessed. He's never happy. He's always upset and he's always angry.
And later,
We're still here in your lives, but you don't let us be in your life. And that's not fair. I feel like I lost my uncle, and that was bad enough, and that was hard enough, but I feel like at the same time I lost you.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, a bizarre obsession.
What have you done to try to control this?
I can't control it.
She disfigures her own body.
I'm obsessed with picking. My arms, my legs, my face. I was shocked at the severity of it.
And Mom's in for another shock.
I didn't know that Samantha was picking with her sister.
How do you feel about your sister doing this?
I don't want her to end up like me.
America's most watched talk show. That's tomorrow.
My husband wakes up throughout the night. He gets up and researches more, keeps trying to figure out what another angle is of how to expose this.
Every conversation that we have always turns back to my uncle's case.
It's what he lives and breathes now.
Well, that was Lori, who says her husband Rod is an angry person who is consumed with exposing what he thinks is a cover-up. She's not the only one in the family that has concerns. Their children say they are worried that if their father does not stop snooping, that he's going to end up dead.
Ever since my uncle's murder, me and my father's relationship has been distant because he's so focused on the case.
The only thing my dad ever wants to talk about is my uncle. Very obsessed. When I come home from work, I come in and there's just papers everywhere. He's never happy. He's always upset and he's always angry.
My dad's very easy to set off. He gets upset over the littlest thing. You can say, the sky is blue. No, it's not. It's gray today.
I'm very concerned about his health. He's already had a heart attack. It happened when I was about 10 and it was extremely scary.
I feel like my dad could be definitely putting his own life in danger.
He'll snoop around and he'll go and follow people and he'll show up at people's houses and he'll go anywhere that people are that he's trying to hunt down. If he puts himself in danger, he can hurt himself, which affects everybody else. I think my dad uses my mom as an easy target without realizing it to release his anger.
My dad's told me several times that it's just better off if he leaves. No one needs him and he's more of a problem than anything else.
Well, Karina and Taylor have joined us. You guys are afraid for your dad, correct?
Yes.
What's your fear?
That we're going to lose our father as well.
So it's scary when he goes and puts himself in situations.
You pretty much keep this with you all the time, right?
That's one of them.
That's right. There's several of these, and you've got what is this?
This is a interview with the 911 phone call. The person that made the 911 phone call explaining the gunshot scenario.
Right, and that's my
brother's message to his attorney. That's the last message he sent to his attorney the day before he was murdered, stating that he was looking for help because the police were harassing him.
Then you've got a copy of the autopsy report here, and then you also went to the morgue and took pictures.
I unzipped him out of the body bag and examined his body for myself because the police wouldn't tell me anything about. They just told me he was shot and killed. They wouldn't tell me any details.
Yeah.
So that's what I did to get information.
You've got just you three of these, right? And you keep these with you. You don't want them stolen.
I carry them with me when I leave town. I make sure somebody's home. If nobody's home, I'll take my stuff with me. Right. I can't afford to lose it.
We actually have a copy of Jerry's voicemail to his lawyer, the last communique they had. Let's listen to that.
This is Jerry Burns, and I just got arrested by the police. The same cop that did this to me, flicking me off this morning in a little undercover car. And I just want to know who I reported you. Since the cops are crooked here, I can't report it to them. So I was just looking for some advice, like who can I report it to?
So he was feeling in a box. He didn't know where to turn.
Yeah, my brother was the type of person that never reached out for help. He always handled things on his own. And for him to make a phone call like that, I can tell that he was scared.
Right.
He was terrified.
You say the cost of this is so high that he is consumed by this to the point that you are on the brink of divorce.
Yes.
Why?
Because
what's happening that you can't take anymore?
Because of the pressure in the house, because of the anger. And it hurts. It's painful. I feel so alone, and it's breaking me down. And I can't take it. I can't. It's hard, and I'm really fearful too that if I do leave him, then my family is really going to crumble.
Yeah. And you guys feel the same way. He's not the person that he was.
Not at all.
You started avoiding him. You don't want to be around because you know what's going to happen.
Yes, it's immediately it goes back. And I know he tries not to, but it'd be like, Dad, we're talking about my baby that's coming, and then instantaneously it's, oh, this new thing that happened with the case, and it's just always reverts back to that.
How do you feel about the fact that 1, 2, 3 people that are here and alive are telling you that you are destroying the relationships, the bonds, the family of the people that are around you?
I feel horrible about it. I just feel like my wife said, I feel like I'm the problem in the house. It's just so much to deal with. I'm stuck in the middle of what do I do for my brother and what do I do for my family? And as far as I'm concerned, it's all my family. My brother is my family. And
okay, but are you willing to destroy your marriage and your family trying to find out or hold someone accountable for your brother?
I would never be willing to destroy my family for any reason whatsoever. This is happening almost like subconsciously, the destruction of my family, because I don't really think about it that much. I'm terribly sorry for what's going on, but it's like something's pulling me to keep going, and if it comes down to me losing my family, I will stop. I will stop. I promise.
But you are losing your family. Look, let's take a break. Is Rod ready to give up the fight for justice in order to save his marriage, his family? We'll be right back.
When I went to the morgue and unzipped him out of the body bag, I leaned over and I whispered in his ear that I was not going to stop until I got the truth.
I want my dad back.
And later,
I was always taught that the man is supposed to be the strong one, that he's not supposed to cry. He's supposed to take care of things. And Dr. Phil,
you were taught like I was, big boys don't cry.
Right.
But as I grew up, I learned big boys don't cry, but men do. And it's time to be a man.
My kids don't have their dad anymore. He's just an empty shell. He is here physically, but he's like a walking dead man. In order to cope with the situation, I come home and I drink wine. I drink between 1 to 3 glasses of wine. On occasion, sure, I've had the whole bottle. I come home and I just don't want to be here.
Well, that was Lori talking about how she drinks to cope with her husband's never-ending fixation on his brother's killing 2.5 years ago. Have you ever really mourned and grieved your brother's death?
I think I do that every day. I really do. I think I'm grieving right now as we're sitting here.
Have you ever allowed yourself not to be working on his behalf, but to just tend to your own feelings, your own pain, your own hurt, not with the purpose of serving him, but just emotionally allowing yourself to admit and acknowledge that he's gone, admit and acknowledge that there is an injustice that may never be changed, and that you've lost your brother who you love so much?
I can admit that he's gone, and I know that there was an injustice done. I'm not so quick to give up the fight, though. I think that if I keep fighting, I can get what I'm after. Mm-hmm. And that's closure for my mother. She's 73. My family, myself, my brother's 2 daughters. I mean, we all need closure.
How were you and your brother getting along when he died?
We weren't talking at the time when he was killed.
How do you feel about that?
I feel horrible about it. I mean, I love my brother. I never wanted us not to be talking, but it was his deal. He was mad at me, and rightfully so.
Do you feel that if you go on with your life instead of pursuing this case, do you feel that that's a betrayal of your brother? Do you feel that you're letting him down?
Yes, I do.
Be honest.
Yes, I do. When I went to the morgue, and unzipped him out of the body bag and examined him and took photos, I leaned over and I whispered in his ear that I was not going to stop until I got the truth. And so I feel I need to find what the truth really is and bring it out and expose exactly what happened to him that night.
Taylor, what are you feeling for your dad right now?
I just feel bad because I feel like he feels really guilty for what he's doing. And I'm really proud of him for what he's doing. And I think he's done an amazing job. And I don't think anybody could have done it better. But at the same time, I want my dad back.
Look at your daughter. Look her in the eye. Turn and look at your father. Look him square. Turn around. Around here. Do you miss your dad?
I really miss you.
I miss you too, Tail.
I don't want you to stop. I really don't. I want you to do what you're doing, and I want you to accomplish what you want to accomplish. But at the same time, you need to learn how to balance it because we're still here. We're still here in your lives, but you don't let us be in your life, and that's not fair. I feel like I lost my uncle, and that was bad enough, and that was hard enough, but I feel like at the same time, I lost you. You're physically here, but you're not mentally here. You're not emotionally here.
I'm so sorry for everything. It's, I just feel that if I get what I'm after, then I'm on the road to recovery. Then I'm back, and then I can be happy again. I can get back to being myself and get back to being there for you guys.
All right. Look at your daughter here. Look her in the eye. Don't look away. Tell him what you miss.
I just want my dad back. I want my baby to know the grandpa you can be and are, but this way I just see you being a whole nother person. You know, you were always so active with us and Mr. Jokester, and now it's everything's serious and business, and it's just not you. It's like my dad's gone and someone else is there.
And I agree with you. I'm not the same person that I was.
We just want to figure out a way to pull you back. Like it's just you keep going further and further.
And with me, I feel that what I'm doing for my brother, your uncle, is my road back.
But you still need to figure out how to be present and be with us and have a balance of it.
I've protected my brother his whole life. Why stop now just because he's not here?
You can have balance without betrayal. And later, and when he is asked, why don't you come and why don't you join us? Why don't you light your candle and take this walk? And he says, because every day that I light my candle, my parents' tears put it out. But let me ask you something. And I want you to really, really think about this. You weren't talking to your brother whenever he was killed. And you feel bad about that, right?
Yes, I do.
You feel guilty about that. You have not dealt with this emotionally. There are phases that you go through in grief work. Everybody's different. They're in different order and different ways. But you're stuck. You're stuck. You are angry. And you are dealing with that with this aggressive, all-consuming effort at the expense of everybody that's still here. It is not, listen to what I'm saying, it is not a betrayal of your brother to live your life with balance and to pursue this with passion. You can live your life with balance and still pursue this with passion. That's not what you're doing. You are out of balance.
I've protected my brother his whole life. Every problem he had, I was there for him. And why stop now just because he's not here?
You don't need to stop now. But you need to look around and say the people that are alive in your life that are here are telling you that you have gotten to a point of dysfunction here.
I agree.
You've gotten to a point of dysfunction. You can have balance. You can give yourself permission to be excited about her baby coming, to be in love with your wife, to spend time with your son, with your daughters. And that's not a betrayal. Do you think that he would want this family to fragment because of what happened to him?
No, I know he wouldn't.
Of course he wouldn't. He would not want you to be all consumed. He would not want you to ruin your own health, your own family, your own relationships chasing him. I'm trying to give you a wake-up call here.
I know.
Before your family falls away from you.
I know. I'm just feeling sad for everything that, all the problems that I've brought to my family because of what I'm doing. And I know it's affected my family. My wife, you know, is talking about divorce, and I don't ever want that to happen under any circumstances. So I need to find the balance to where I can keep doing what I'm doing and mend things with my family and get back on track and get back to being myself. That's what I want the most out of life right now.
Well, can you say to these guys, look, I'm sorry I've been gone. I'm never going to give up on Jerry, but I'm going to come home to you four.
Yeah. Hey, I am truly sorry from the bottom of my heart for putting all of you through this. And I want so bad to get back to being myself. I'm stuck in the middle. And I don't know where to go.
Go to your family. I'm going to get you some help.
Thank you.
But your first help is with your people here. With your son, your daughters, your wife.
Okay. And I will. I promise you. I promise you.
All right. I'm going to get you some help. All right, next, we're going to meet a couple who've banded together to prove the death of their 13-year-old son was a cover-up. But 2 years later, they are now berating each other over the killing, and their marriage is falling apart as well. We'll be right back.
A 13-year-old boy was shot in the face. Another boy admitted to it, but police didn't arrest him.
Do you think it was an accident?
No. He pointed it in my son's face, and he pulled the trigger.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, a bizarre obsession.
I'm obsessed with picking arms, legs, my face.
She disfigures her own body.
What have you done to control this?
I can't control it.
That's tomorrow.
It was a story that made headlines and shocked a community. Two middle school friends who once played on the same baseball team, hanging out over the school break. One ends up shot in the face with a shotgun, and the other accused of doing it.
An afternoon of video games, pierced by gunshot.
A 13-year-old boy was shot in the face. Another boy admitted to it, but police didn't arrest him.
Rob was at a friend's house in Cartersville days after Christmas 2010.
I don't know what's wrong. The stone of his face is gone.
A neighbor called 911.
He was shot with a shotgun. There's a line from the shotgun behind him. It looks like, oh my God.
The friend, whose identity we've chosen not to reveal because he's a minor, told detectives he accidentally fired his stepfather's shotgun while showing it to Rob.
Do you think it was an accident?
No. He pointed it in my son's face, and he pulled the trigger.
Veronica says her son was the only thing keeping her and Rob together. Now that he's gone, she says she'd rather be apart.
Since my son's death, my husband and I have been doing nothing but arguing and fighting.
Our son's death has torn us apart.
He treats me like a child. He talks down to me.
I've called her up. I've called her up.
I have called my husband a punk. My husband's very critical in the way that I keep house.
I'll throw it in her face. Why aren't you cleaning this?
I get text after text after text. You don't do anything around the house. Get a job. I'm fed up with our life the way it is.
Since my son's death, I have shut down. I think I'm trying to escape from reality.
I have told him I want a divorce.
I'll just tell her to go get one. If that's what you want, do it.
It's so hard because all I want to do is lay down and die with my son.
Well, as I said earlier in the show, I'm glad to meet y'all, but very sorry for the occasion. He tragically is gone, and I hate that. I'm sorry that it happened. How is this affecting you now today?
It's very hard to even get up and get out of bed in the mornings. Just to go to work, it takes everything I have. I have to put a mask on to go to work. And when I go to work, I don't have to be me. And I can function during work. And when I come home from work, it's taking so much just to do that I just want to take the mask off and blend in with the furniture. But I know that she has been at home and she's waiting on me to come home and be there emotionally. And I can't, Dr. Phil. I bury my feelings.
Well, how do you feel about it? How do you feel inside?
I feel angry. I feel angry. I feel betrayed. We let our son go spend the night with his friend. We didn't know that we needed to ask, hey, do you have an unloaded 12-gauge shotgun sitting underneath your bed?
How is this affecting you now?
I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm very angry. I'm angry at the justice system. I'm very sad. This is, you know, our son, like I said, I felt like he was the glue that kind of held us together. I'm sad and angry. I feel rejected and I feel a lot of things.
But are you two venting at each other?
Absolutely.
Yes.
You make fun of her for crying.
I do.
What do you say? What do you?
I say, oh, here you. When it's not crying over our son, I don't make fun of her for that. But if we do argue and she starts to tear up, I'm like, oh, here we go. To be honest with you, Dr. Phil, I do believe that some of the arguments are because when I look her in the eye, I see Rob. And when she looks me in the eye, she sees Rob. And for some reason, we vent and we never resolve anything that we argue about. It's gotten so much worse since May the 29th of this year. That was the day that the boy, we finally got it to where they would take him to court. He admitted to everything, and the judge gave him 2 years probation. He admitted to going and getting the gun, taking it downstairs.
Knowing it was loaded when he got it.
Aiming it at my son, so close that the couch and the window behind my son did not get any pellets in either one. My son's face took the whole wad and everything from the gun. And then he admitted to taking it back upstairs and putting it away. I failed my son in life. I wasn't able to protect him. And I failed him in death because I wasn't able to get justice. I guess I live on the anger and the guilt inside of me.
Do you blame him in some ways?
The day that my son died, I thought my husband was going to be picking him up from work on his way home because he goes right by their house. And he came home and Rob wasn't with him. And you said that you were going to lay down and take a nap and then you were going to go pick him up. And during that nap, his nap and mine, is when we got the call. We got a call saying, from the stepfather saying we needed to get to his house, that Rob had blood on his face. He was already dead at the time, but they didn't tell us. Yeah, maybe I do a little bit. But I blame myself too because my son wasn't even supposed to be at that house. He had been in trouble for some grades, and he really wasn't supposed to spend the night with anybody. My husband had told him no, he couldn't spend the night with the boy. And I overrode him, and I allowed my son to go. So I have guilt too, because if I wouldn't have overrode him, then my son would have been home and he wouldn't be dead.
He didn't ask to be picked up, but I wish he had. I wish I'd have just got up and gone and got him.
Of course. Let's take a quick break here. We're going to find out why Veronica sometimes wants Rob to just find another woman.
both have a lot of guilt over the death of our son. I feel like I could have gone to pick up my son. I was home. I don't know what happened.
I blame the boy that made the decision to walk upstairs, pick up the shotgun, put it point blank in my son's face. I blame his parents. I'm angry at them because their negligence caused my son's death.
Well, Rob and Veronica say their marriage fell apart after the tragic killing of their 13-year-old son 2 years ago. And you are venting on each other just because that's who's there to vent on. It's like non-directional frustration. You can't yell at the justice system. That's an institution. There's no ears on an institution. You can't yell at them. This boy that was on the other end of this shotgun, you say he gets 2 years probation, and you say it bothers you so much that he's living his life, and your son is not. And I'm not going to ask you to do something you can't do, but do think about this. We're talking here about two children that were playing, two little boys that were together. Can you imagine the horror that that little boy is living with? I mean, if what he saw and what he was involved in, let me tell you, he may not know it now, he may be shirking it, but that changes somebody, and that will scar him for the rest of his life. And I'm not asking you to have compassion, but I'm just asking you to recognize that that's not all rose blossoms and cherries over there for that family or for this kid. Your job is to make certain that the legacy of Little Rob is not to look down at the destruction of this family, the destruction of his father, the destruction of his mother. Is that the legacy you want him to see?
No.
I don't know how to talk to her. I don't know how to tell her my feelings because I was always taught that the man is supposed to be the strong one, that he's not supposed to cry. He's supposed to take care of things. And Dr. Phil,
you were taught like I was, big boys don't cry.
Right.
But as I grew up, I learned big boys don't cry, but men do. And it's time to be a man. When we come back, I'm going to talk to this couple about how to forgive themselves and each other after the loss of a loved one. We'll be right back. Know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
Let me just be straight up. You guys are in trouble.
Yes.
This marriage is on its last legs.
Absolutely.
Do you want it saved?
Yes.
Do you want it saved?
Yes, sir.
Then let me talk to you for a minute.
Okay.
It's time for you to man up. It's time for you to not run from your feelings. You said, I can't even think about it. I can't cope with it. I can't grieve it because if I do, if I let go, it's going to all fall apart. It's okay to fall apart.
Well, how do you do that? I mean, how do you do that? If it was one of your sons, how would you do it? I feel guilty if I smile or if I have fun because he's not here.
Do you believe that he has gone to heaven?
Yes, sir.
You believe he is with the Lord?
I know he is.
See, I believe that, and I think that for him to look down and say, the legacy of my life was to leave behind pain. Is that who he was?
No, sir.
Is that what you want him to do?
No, sir.
That's not what I want to happen here. He deserves better than that from you.
Yes, sir.
And it's time for you to acknowledge your feelings about this and not run from this. And I want you to do me a favor. I want both of you to do me a favor. I want you to close your eyes right now. And I want you to see in your mind's eye little Rob when he had joy in his life and in his heart. See his face, see his smile. And now, I want you to picture him in a wonderful and beautiful place. Whatever your vision of heaven is, I want you to picture him in this wonderful, beautiful place. And every day, the Lord comes and gathers all the children to go for a walk. And they all light a candle, and they all go walking through this beautiful, wonderful place. All except for one child. And that child sits alone by himself. And that child is little Rob. And when he is asked, why don't you come and why don't you join us? Why don't you light your candle and take this walk? And he says, because every day that I light my candle, my parents' tears put it out. But he wants to light that candle and take a walk. What do you want?
I want him to do that too.
I want him to be happy.
I want you to say, little Rob, I'm going to stop pretending that it hurts inside for you to be gone. I'm going to stop hiding my feelings.
Son, I'm going to stop pretending that you're not gone, and I'm going to stop hiding my feelings.
I'm going to get you some more help with this. I want to thank everybody for being here today. drphil.com for more information. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil has finding his brother's killer.
He is consumed by this to the point that you are on the brink of divorce.
Become an obsession.
I know it's affected my family.
I lost my uncle, but I feel like at the same time I lost you.
Families torn apart by killings.
Since my son's death, I have shut down.
It's time for you to not run from your feelings.
If it was one of your sons, how would you do it?
Two families ripped apart by tragedy today. Both allege police tried to cover up the vicious killings of a loved one. Their stories made headlines on opposite ends of the country. Although they have never met, they have one thing in common. They are determined to prove their family member was in fact killed. Now, my first guest, Rod, says his brother was shot 6 times and left to die in an alley, but yet no charges were filed. Take a look.
Officers were called to this warehouse at around 10:30 Wednesday night after someone reported hearing shots fired. When officers arrived, they found a man shot dead.
It's been 2.5 years since my brother was murdered.
He was brutally shot in an alleyway 6 times. 4 of them were kill shots.
The day I received the phone call from the police telling me my brother was killed was March 10th. He didn't provide me any other details.
It's just one of those things that, never should have happened, but here's people that decided to use firearms, and the end result is one is deceased.
The officer that called me was at my mom's house informing my mother of my brother's death. In the background, I heard my mother screaming and crying. The first thought that went through my head when the officer told me my brother was killed, I thought the police had killed him.
Well, Rod immediately began an investigation of his own.
Right from the beginning, the police's story about what transpired didn't add up. Police were claiming that my brother chased somebody inside the building with a gun, and then a gunfight ensued, and my brother was shot and killed inside the warehouse. The police informed us that they have a videotape of my brother running around and shooting at people. I have requested to see the tape over and over again. The press has requested to see the tape, and we have all been denied. They have never showed anybody the tape. Coroner's report went into detail about the gunshot wounds, but there is nothing on any of these reports about a stun gun. My photos have a clear stun gun burn on him, so I have the most damning evidence against them that I could possibly have. The police claim after my brother was killed, they drug him out the back door and put him in the alley. But when we returned the following morning, I could see that if 2 people were carrying a bloody body that was bleeding profusely through that doorway from inside that building, there would have been some sort of blood somewhere on the door. The blood smear by the back door did not cross the threshold of that door, so there's no evidence that my brother was in that building at that point, and I took photos of that. After I confronted the police with my findings, they changed the story. They said, "You're right, everything happened in the alley." I said, "What do you mean? You told me my brother was inside, and you put it in the press that he was inside the building." It's been 2.5 years since my brother was murdered. I can't stop my investigation because I feel that I have to bring out the truth. I feel that I'm the only person on this earth that can do it. And if I don't do it, it'll never be done.
Well, it has been 2.5 years, and Rod says he spends every waking moment investigating his brother's death. But his wife says his search for justice, at all cost, is just that. It's destroying their marriage and tearing the family apart.
I'm only focused on one thing, and that's finding the truth no matter what. This investigation has totally taken over my life.
My husband thinks about this every waking moment of his life. I feel like I really don't have a husband anymore.
I'm not there for my wife, I'm not there for my kids, I'm not there for my job. I've uncovered a lot of different stuff. The picture on the front here is looking down on his body shop. Here's his body shop right here. And this parking lot over here is where the guys that killed him used to hang out and watch him at night. It's almost like I'm in some sort of a trance. I think about it, I dream about it, I wake up and it's on my mind. I wake up, my teeth are clenched together. I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel revengeful.
This situation has affected us financially.
There is no money for the investigation. I don't have a steady job. My wife works constantly.
The financial burden has fallen completely on me. The house has continued to deteriorate. There's drywall that needs to continue to be hung. We need new doors on pretty much every room in the house. I don't have the ability